We're on.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. And happy post-Bastille Day.
Happy post-Bastille Day.
I'm JP Collins.
And I'm Julie Ward.
And this is the Book of Hours podcast entitled Guillotine.
We're entitling it.
You're right. We're calling it something else.
Entitling it MAGA, which is Make a Guillotine Great Again.
Mm-hmm. Because we've been getting reports that on the anniversary, Bastille Day was yesterday, so this is July 15th. And on the anniversary, I don't know how many years ago it was. What is that? 1789 was.
Yeah, it was the late
Bastille.
1700s,
Right.
early 1800s.
Okay, so 1789. So however many years ago that was. Anyway, Bastille Day. They released. We got reports that they were starting to decide to go back to the guillotine.
Right.
And bring back the actually. Let me qualify that. They're going to start manufacturing guillotines because in the EU there is no death penalty.
Right, but in the United States there is,
Mm-hmm.
and back
in other
a few
countries too.
months ago, the state of Arkansas was putting out feelers for people, and the New York Times actually covered this, so that
Mm-hmm.
so you know it's legit because the New York Times,
Right, because they are very legit and
that bastion of real news. They covered it, and actually, so the state of Arkansas was seeking out people to come in and witness executions because they were running low on like the viewership of the executions here in the United States. So one of the things when they finally were able to get the people to come in and they had people there to witness the executions. And this has happened. Other states throughout the country have sort of picked up
Texas,
on this.
California.
Other states have sort of picked up on this as well. And so what they've done is so the people sit in a sort of auditorium style setting, and there's a glass wall between them and the person that is being executed. And so it's very antiseptic. It's very clean,
Right.
and so the prison guards and the people that are actually in charge of the executions have suggestion boxes and little cards for people to fill out. How did you feel about the execution? What could we have done better?
Right, yeah, the typical survey,
time?
right? Yeah, so
typical
like,
survey.
yeah.
What could we have done better?
Were you very satisfied,
Were
partially
you
satisfied?
satisfied with the execution,
Yeah,
for your
exactly.
experience? And so a lot of people were saying, well, we were kind of bored, we lost interest.
Yeah.
And so
And
so that's where the guillotine comes in.
Part of they said, now this is what the state of Arkansas said, is that the drugs that they were administering were going to become expired. But I think what it was is they were trying to build excitement, because this is back when, I don't know if you remember, this is back when they were like doing like a ton of executions like right in a row.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You remember that?
I mean, they could barely keep up. There was
Right,
so
and I
many.
think that was part of it too. They were trying to make it a little more exciting,
Right,
by doing so many at once.
Well, people were just really losing interest.
Yeah, they were.
I mean,
and,
so
it's an execution. I mean, what's not interesting about that?
it's fascinating.
I think so too.
And I think that Europe, which has banned executions, and this whole business of them being inhumane and human rights violations,
Right.
I think that they should really just get on board. And,
I do too,
go
because
back to
France is manufacturing the guillotine again, so why not take
why
advantage
not?
of that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, so what's happening is, which I think that this is just genius. So we have the Eiffel Tower behind us.
Yes, right.
So you know that when you go up to the Eiffel Tower, if you've been, when you leave the Eiffel Tower, there's gift shop area, so you can go in and you can get your Eiffel Tower memorabilia, and so that's what's happening with the guillotine. So they put the guillotine in a town square, just like they did, back in medieval times and during
it wasn't the medieval times.
turn of the century. Actually, what were you saying earlier about
It was 1789.
The reason that we have the guillotine in the first place
That's right.
is because
It's because before that, in medieval times and up to the late 18th century, their executions were performed by, it's like the movies, the guy with the hood, no shirt, big burly guy with a big fucking hatchet, and he would come down on the person's neck, right? And he wouldn't always, make that strike clean. And
he might get an ear. Maybe
or he might hack out,
Or what if
so,
the neck was really thick and
right,
it wasn't,
exactly,
like,
and it's gonna take a couple
through.
chops, and that's not nice.
And that,
it's really hard
people,
on everybody.
And again, just like in modern times, people
Right.
were losing interest. It's like, come on already, I've got to go catch my dinner for tonight.
Right.
It's this is taking too long, and people were losing interest.
Well, the other market. Go on.
Well, so the people that were in charge of executions, whoever they were like, well, how can we make this
more exciting
and faster? So they created.
So they
guillotine.
So, right, exactly, yeah.
So that's how the guillotine came into place.
Well, it was actually originally it was
much more precise.
It was much more about that. It was much more about making it more of a precise, clean kind of execution, as opposed to these awful, just gory things.
Well,
now that's not to say that it wasn't bloody, because
Right.
there's lots of blood that comes out of a body when something's cut off.
Right, and you have to remember that, when for instance, the state of Arkansas had that suggestion box for the participants in the state executions, one of the things was, I felt a little distant from what was happening behind the glass in a chair in sort of an auditorium.
It wasn't as visceral as I had hoped.
And it's like, so I think what's happening is people, at least in this country, they want to go back to the old days. So they've created.
Well, they certainly do.
So
especially the Christian right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, get a little blood on the clothes. Feel the heat in the air, so they have the guillotine set up in the town square. They put the rope, around the guillotine. So just like when you're at a concert, so that there's always a certain amount of distance between you and the stage. And so there's a certain amount of distance between you and the person who's getting, guillotined. And, but not enough so that you don't get a little blood splatter.
Right, yeah, because, But my favorite part of that whole thing with the guillotine is that, it is such a clean cut. That, the head ends up in a basket, and the executioners, or the people who are conducting the execution, are able to go and pick up the head and show the head its own body.
Right. So
how ironic is that?
Well, I mean, the French are they're really into surrealism.
The surrealists,
and existentialism,
that's true.
And so showing the head to the body, like there's a relationship there. That's very.
It's very French.
That's very French.
Well,
very surreal.
And nobody is able to conduct revenge better than the French, right?
Yeah. So I've heard that there's going to be little gift shops, so you go, you witness the guillotine execution, and then afterwards you can go get your kids a little tiny mini guillotine so they can practice on their dolls. It's very charming.
Well, for a while
it's very French.
Very
cool.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, for a while there, you could buy those models, those guillotine models that would cut the end of your cigar off. But I think they stopped making those because people were like, dudes were getting their fingers, hacked. Yeah, it's not a good scene. But the thing is that the French
weak.
They're responding to the American market because of these requests. Especially in Texas, right? Texas is a big state.
Texas and Florida and Arkansas and Wisconsin. I mean, there's
Wisconsin?
a lot.
They're doing a lot of executions in Wisconsin?
There's a lot of states that are really into it. They're really on board. And of course it's going to help the, so that's why we really want to name this MAGA, make America great again, make a guillotine
great again.
Make a guillotine again, because the jobs will be created from the guillotine. I mean, the sheet metal manufacturing jobs will be spiking. The craftsmanship for and I'm sure there will be many different types of guillotines made. Yeah. Some people might want a more elaborate one.
Well, now we have stainless steel too,
and stainless chrome.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Fucking
IKEA,
a chrome.
I would say that if you and I were to order a guillotine, given our our pensions for blonde furniture, JP and
Yeah.
sort of the simple look, JP and I would probably prefer one from the IKEA catalog.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that would be interesting
So-
if the Swedes started making
Yeah,
them.
I
You know,
think-
because then they'd be very modern looking and
Yeah.
not old fashioned at all.
Right, and then of course, being that it's IKEA, you'd have to put it together yourself.
Yeah, so you got to be
So,
careful with that one.
you know.
Right? You know, because if
Can
you're
you
putting it
imagine-
together yourself.
Yeah. Well, so the people that are actually and of course this will help with cost efficiency. I think that people who are having to put together their own
Oh yeah,
guillotine,
you know, and it's more environmental too because
right.
it's a flat pack.
right?
You know, and a
exactly.
guillotine that's easy to flat pack, right?
right?
Because all the pieces are more or less flat.
Right,
know.
exactly.
Yeah.
So
What's going on?
Yeah, I'm just gonna move that over.
Oh, you're gonna move that? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
So-
but you know, the thing is that I was thinking about, and I forgot about this. I meant to mention it earlier, and that is that France also realized that it wasn't just America that was looking for an alternative to their execution issues. Saudi Arabia, and the Arabic states, whatever the Confederation of Arabics.
United Arab.
United Arab
United Arab
Emirates.
Yeah.
All these countries in the Middle East that are practicing Sharia law and cutting off heads and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, yeah, part of it is that you got to use a sword, but it's getting really to the point where it's like it's really gross and it's
Well,
really hard.
and it's
so the
not-
guillotine is a
yeah.
good alternative because
Right.
they can keep it modern, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And because again, they can go with the IKEA models, or they can do
Right.
a whatever, and they have lots of money so that they can do that. So Saudi Arabia, the Arab Emirates states, and also and this is a secondary market that they weren't considering, but ISIS is actually starting to order these things,
Yeah, yeah.
and
yeah.
and it's not known. And they're keeping it on the
Of course,
QT.
like they do everything.
Right,
with,
But Macron is like okay with that, and
Yeah.
and actually he's going through Turkey. He's doing it through Turkey because Turkey,
Yeah.
even though they've had some attacks from ISIS, they're still kind of on a
right.
first name
I mean,
basis.
we all are on a first name basis with ISIS.
Well, the United States
The
is
United
for
States
sure.
is,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
So
yeah.
this is going to give. This is going to be a nice economic boon for the United States.
And for France too.
And and for France as well, it's going
Mm-hmm.
it's going to bridge whatever strained relationships that Trump might have with Macron right now. Because-
Given the handshakes and
yeah,
the
just
weird.
the feeling
Although,
of his wife. I mean,
yeah.
but whatever, the French are used to that.
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
guess.
not really sure what.
Well,
what
no,
the
they
big
were
deal
getting
was.
along. They got along really well.
Yeah.
And maybe
So-
maybe it was like maybe the reason that Trump held on to Macron's hand so long is because he maybe wanted some little action later on that night.
Probably,
You
yeah.
know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be
after
surprised,
all,
too.
he and Rudy Giuliani shared a very intimate moment
In
and made
drag.
it- and made it public.
Yeah,
so
in drag,
it was
too.
very sweet.
Yeah.
It really just made me realize how special America really is.
Yeah, it's
So-
you can have a closeted
Yeah,
American
yeah.
president.
Yeah, totally. A completely closeted American president.
Yeah.
But regarding making
With a model
guillotine,
wife. Great again.
right, well, make a guillotine again, MAGA, make
Right.
a guillotine again, and make America great again. I see that this really working well for. For the American people and the population and the citizenry, I can't think of a better way to bring people together.
Mhm.
I mean, children and families
Yeah.
and friends that maybe didn't get along. Maybe there are a lot of differences in the way you think that
Well-
the world should work. Coming together and having a little blood splattered on you.
Yeah,
and
although you got to
going
be
the
careful with
gift
that. You got to wear
shop.
goggles, right?
Yeah,
Because in case
it's
there's
true.
HIV involved.
And watching a head, fall off the body. It's really exciting. You get kind of an
Well,
adrenaline rush.
it's going to replace SeaWorld because SeaWorld, all the controversy with like the orcas and you saw that the Blackfish movie, and there's lots of controversy there, and so it used to be that you could get wet by watching an orca perform tricks.
Yes.
And there was sometimes there was blood because the orca would turn on its trainer, which was pretty awesome for the people that just happened to catch that. But now they don't have to to wait for that, they can go to an execution where there's a guillotine, right, and blood splatters.
Yeah, and it's actually, in the same way that it was exciting that when you got wet from the when the orcas and the dolphins would do their tricks, like you just said. Yeah, so I think that this is actually a really wonderful wonderful idea, and the craftsmanship that goes behind it. I mean, the people that will be making these things
because
will be put to work, and
and it's so much better than all the other ways to kill people, right? By the state, anyway. I mean, because people kill each other all the time.
Europe on board,
right? I know. Well, so gas. It's icky and it's boring. It's slow.
Nobody can see.
Nobody can relate
to it.
It's really
boring.
And chemical injection is just as bad. Okay.
Yeah.
And then hanging is just gruesome because it doesn't work right away.
It doesn't.
And there's lots of all that unpleasant shaking.
I do have to say though, JP, that I think hanging is also going to make a comeback because. Hanging also takes a lot of skill. Like you have to create the stage and the thing for the rope to hang, and you could have so and then you pull out the floor from the person, and they fall and their neck is supposed to snap right away. But if it doesn't,
sometimes
the executioner can always say, "Do we have any volunteers from the audience?" And maybe a little kid can come over and yank the body to make the head snap.
That's true.
That would be really exciting and really fun.
That would be cool.
So
yeah. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean,
now making a guillotine again is...
we'll table hanging for now.
Yeah.
But so then then there's chopping off the head with the sword or the hatchet. That's just bloody and gross.
Well,
and then firing squad is. Who knows? I mean, sometimes it works. I mean, the last time we had a civilian firing squad death in the United States, not death but execution, was Gary Gilmore.
Yeah, well, I think that, to be honest with you, JP, I mean, no offense, I realize that the Gary Gilmore execution was really interesting and funny, but the fact is, American people are kind of bored with executions because we're already randomly executing black people every day. We're so bored with that.
And we see this stuff on YouTube, and it feels so fake.
It's so it's so common now. I mean, you've got Walter Scott running through the woods, running away from a heavy-set cop that can't keep up with him. So it's just like, dude, just pull out your gun and kill him and shoot him in the back. Right. I mean, it's so common, and it's firing squads, shooting someone with a gun, 7 times when they're reaching for their keys. I mean, it's so it's become so boring. So that's why making a guillotine again is a new way to really excite people and get them involved in the execution process.
You know what's kind of cool?
I think it's really important.
We can get all those old those unused or unpurchased MAGA caps that are red already. And market those for and then we can just add a guillotine patch or pin to it,
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, those little cloisonne pins, that would be kind of cool.
So you're helping the environment by recycling something that's already in existence. And then you're adding
you still make some money from it, right? Because you don't lose, you get the tax write-off and then you get to sell it again.
Yeah. So I think
cool.
I am very excited about making a guillotine again, which will then make America great again, and making it part of, a community process. I think bringing the community together to experience this will be very important, and then we'll be able to meet sort of on the same.
And I think that there's that again, that secondary market. Like this can start going on YouTube. And the money that they make from the advertising would be awesome.
Oh yeah. Can you imagine?
Because it's like YouTube. Bless them. They curtail the political speech, but they do allow things like child abuse, and violence and things like that. So this would be a perfect shoe-in, a perfect fit.
Perfect. Anybody who wants to, record an execution, a beheading with a guillotine on YouTube, I think would be well funded.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think that it would also be a hit on Facebook Live.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's something different. I mean, the Facebook Live streaming all of those, those random shootings of unarmed black men and women over the years. It's gotten so boring.
Well,
America is just like, okay.
I know. Let's
over it.
enough already. Let's do something else.
I need something exciting.
Right?
So I
So
think
guillotines
this
would
is
be
it.
part of it. Yeah, I think
this
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and I would record it and put it on Vimeo, but it would be black and white except for the blood.
oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that would be really
Yeah, that'd be
artistic.
pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
That would really make an impact.
Yeah,
with,
and it's very
you
French.
know,
And it would end with
yeah.
fin.
Right. Which is how we'll end this right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, so this is fun.
Fun.
Well, this has been
Or fiend.
or fiend or fine or fin, whatever you want to say. So this has been a good little discussion we've had, and so
Yeah.
look out for the guillotine coming back to America if it ever was here in the first place. It won't be appearing in France except in the gift shops, so little models, because they're manufacturing it, but they can't use it at home.
Right, because they ruled out the death penalty.
That's right. Okay.
Like most European countries.
God, they're
have.
so they act like they're being humane, but
Yeah. Really.
but they're still.
They're. I mean.
But like most neoliberal policies, it hurts other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's hurting. This time it's hurting the French people because they could have their own exciting executions.
I know. They don't know what they're missing.
They don't. They really don't. And so
They're gonna be so jealous of
the
us
Texas bloodbath,
here in
the
America.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, they call Alabama the Crimson Tide. So
That's right.
let's start having some guillotines in Alabama and Texas, and it'd be awesome. It'll make California a little more exciting too.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure California is going to be one of the first ones.
Well, we have a red
Us.
star on our. Well, maybe that's something else. But anyway, hey. So I think that's it. I'm JP Collins,
And I'm Julie.
and this has been the Book of Hours podcast, and this one's called.
MAGA.
MAGA.
Make a guillotine again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll catch you next time, and bonjour.
Bonjour.
Or
Au revoir.
au revoir and bonsoir. And we'll catch you next time.
Enfin.
And fin.